let's start. So I'll do the normal intro, as in rather than me having to do another little bit and go, "Hey guys, welcome to the podcast." I'll just say that now.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that now.
Go.
Okay. It feels weird. It feels forced. Not used to it. Fuck it. Let's go.
Get it.
All right.
Who are you?
Hey podcasters, welcome to the Shaun Herr show, where it's my job to help you learn how to look, feel and live better. Help me do that this week, I've got Jim Gale. Give us a wave, Jim. If you're on a podcast, imagine a wave. And so what we thought we'd do this week is, rather than just sitting down and doing an interview where Jim tells me about his life, we basically just have a chat about things that we want to talk about, because there's always stuff like that, and like we'll see things online and you'll think, oh, I wish people didn't think that way, or I wish I could explain that, and just different things like that. And we might do a few different ones. We might start like a co-host situation up at some point. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, before we started recording, we were talking about what we wanted to talk about, but then basically just started doing a podcast, and I was like, right, let's just stop this and then put the camera on and then go again from there. So we're going to get back into it. And the few things we were talking about, well, the topic we were initially on was the Game Changers, which, if you haven't heard of it, is a new documentary, if you like documentaries that aren't about real things, on Netflix.
Just going in hard from the get-go.
Yeah. So basically what it is, if you don't know what it is, the Game Changers is a thing that came out on Netflix, which was a documentary about being vegan and basically how you can still be athletic and be vegan. And that was cool, because you can be athletic and be vegan.
Of course. It
was just that they just went in so hard on it, and it was kind of like, if you're already vegan, you'd be like, oh my god, this is amazing. But if you're not, you'd be like, you kind of be a bit, it's a bit too much.
Yeah. I think it would be easy to, like we were saying before, if you are a meat eater and someone comes so strongly with an argument like that, you have no choice but to put up your defenses immediately, like you're being attacked. For me, that's like the biggest downfall of the vegan community, is that that's what they do, and obviously it just comes from a place of passion. Most of the time when people are vegans, it's because they're passionate about the animals or the environment.
It's a good thing.
Which is a good thing, but that comes across in the argument as, you're killing the planet.
You hate animals, but I love them. So then you're like, I don't hate animals, what are you talking about? And then you, like you say, you close off.
Exactly, yeah. It's scientifically speaking, your brain is wired to do that. When something attacks you, you go into fight or flight mode, and your higher mammal brain literally just pretty much shuts off. So you're just there to survive. So you become incapable of reasoning and using logic, and you just batten down the hatches, and the other side does that as well, and it gets nowhere. I feel like the Game Changers was a massively missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because like you said, obviously you can be very healthy and optimal as a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's good examples of people doing that in the film. But rather than saying, if you go vegan, it will make you this much better, they could have just said, you can be vegan and still go at 100%.
Yeah.
Or be better than what you are, which is currently eating a load of crap all the time.
Yeah.
Which is another thing we said. Like, a lot of the time when people go vegan, they're just going from a bad diet to a really nutritious diet. And if there are going to be negative effects of that, they come later, and it's hard to recognize. So yeah, I saw it as I really liked the film. Like, I enjoyed watching it, but I saw it as a big missed opportunity, because we haven't had anyone say yet come out with a documentary like, you've got like What the Health, Cowspiracy, this one. There's none of them that are coming forward and just saying, look, here's the actual science. It's not good or bad for either party. It's just, here's what it is. If you want to be a vegan and you want to be at 100%, you want to be optimal, then this is what you got to do based on the science.
Yeah.
Like, I was having a conversation with someone in the gym the other day who's not a vegan. He's just a vegetarian, just because he finds that he feels better when he's doing that. And he was basically saying that there's as much protein in broccoli as there is in chicken or whatever. And obviously there isn't. Like, to get the same amount of protein from broccoli as chicken, you'd have to have an unreasonably large portion of broccoli, or whatever it is that you're having. And B, it's not just about matching protein for protein. So if you get 22 grams of protein from 100 grams of chicken, and you eat a proportionately equivalent amount of broccoli to get 22 grams of protein from broccoli, you're not going to get the same effect on, say, muscle protein synthesis. It doesn't work like that, because there's different proteins. Like, protein's not just protein. So the studies that measure like whey protein against plant-based protein powders shows that you need 30 to 40% more actual protein in grams to get the same amount of muscle protein synthesis.
Yeah.
So it's not just about matching grams for grams. That's not an argument against veganism. It's just something you need to know if you're going to be optimal as a vegan.
Yeah.
That's all. And I think that there needs to be a documentary, an actual documentary, that does that. It just puts that into perspective for everyone. Not trying to, and again, not for the meat eaters, not as an argument against veganism, just as a sort of fact. And it doesn't have to always be one side or the other, I think.
Yeah.
Rant over.
Like you're saying there, that just in case anyone's confused about it, like, how does that work? What you said about whey protein versus plant-based protein.
Yeah.
You know, if you need more plant-based protein to get the same effect of the protein. The reason for that is down to how your body digests it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
whey protein is digested easier, stuff like gets taken up into the body. That's basically it.
It's about assimilation, because in Game Changers they talk about the animals being the middleman, and then he just says, well, why not just cut the middleman out?
Yeah.
And
the
it's
middleman's
like, well,
beneficial, that's the point.
you only have a middleman because he makes life easier.
Yeah.
So if, say, like, the analogy that I keep using, and I'm sure I can come up with a better one, but the analogy I keep using, if I'm a business and you're a business and we want to make some kind of business transaction, so we have a solicitor to solicit that transaction. If we say, well, why, we're both paying this solicitor to do that for us, we're both going to lose money on him, let's just sort it out ourselves. Well, the point is, I don't know law, you don't know law, and that's why you have a solicitor.
Yeah.
And they make the transaction possible, and that's what the animal is. Not to the same extent, or let's say it's to the same extent, because if we get rid of the solicitor, maybe we still can do the transaction, but it's going to have flaws, it's going to take a lot longer, it's going to take more of our time. And that's what your body's the same. So if you cut out the middleman, let's say the cow, your body's got to work harder to do the things that the cow would have already done for you, to assimilate
with its four stomachs that you only have one of.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're made to do. And so it is about assimilation. It's about what you actually can take from what you're eating. But it's also about the profile of the amino acids. So you have like a score system. I can't remember what it's called now. DAAS, I think. DAAS. Something like that. Digestible assimilating amino score or something like that. You can Google that. And basically, every food that's got protein has this score, and the score says, it basically rates it on how well you assimilate it and on its profile of amino acids. Yeah. So, like a lot of the, say, using the same example, muscle protein synthesis, which is just taking proteins and being able to use it to create muscle or recover. That depends on certain amino acids being higher on the sort of ratio. So again, in Game Changers, they say every food has got every amino acid. That's all well and good, but it's the ratio we're looking at, not just is it there. So if you're eating broccoli and it has got all the amino acids, but leucine, which is your main one for muscle protein synthesis, if that's like a lot lower, then you're again gonna have to eat a lot more of the broccoli and get more protein from the broccoli than you would beef or chicken.
Yeah.
So it's a simulation, and it's the profile of the content of the protein as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's just, again, it's like I get into rants about it like that, but it's not anti-vegan. I'm not anti-vegan in that sense, and I'm not saying that it will be bad for your health if you go vegan, but it will be bad for your health if you go vegan without understanding
it properly.
What you have to do just to compensate for those little pitfalls. And I've got just ultimate respect for anybody who is willing to take that step to being a vegan and understands the sacrifices that they're going to make with their time to compensate for the pitfalls.
Yeah.
Massive respect. Not as much respect for people who just say, well, I'm going vegan because, it's better for you. Without really looking into it properly and understanding it.
Yeah, what we said before about it being a missed opportunity, it focused mostly on athletes, the game changers. And so in that sense, I saw some people talking about it as being, basically the point of it was targeting men, basically, and trying to get rid of the sort of like feminine idea of being vegan. And at first I didn't understand what that meant. I was like, how is being vegan feminine? I don't know what you mean. Because I just didn't register it. But when I thought about it the opposite way, it made more sense. And so when you think about it the opposite way, it's the kind of like eating meat and hunting and catching and killing animals and eating it and cooking your own stuff. Like that's like manly, like I'm a hunter. Do you know what I mean? Like there's those kind of masculine associations with it. So it's kind of like you're not going to be as masculine if you're not eating meat. Yeah. And so that's why they focused on athletes and like college football players and fucking Arnie. Like that, why else would you get Arnie into it? To not be the epitome of manliness. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so in that sense, if you wanted your documentary to be, look, being vegan's good because, less animals have to die, because it's good for the planet, and all those other reasons beyond your health. If it was to say, look, you can be vegan and still be as athletic and as manly, or, if that's the point, then cool. Like, you can do that. Yeah. But, like we said, it can go too far in the opposite direction and be like, I'm trying to convince you too much and I'm kind of bullshitting you. Yeah. And if that was the goal, if the goal is to just convince people that you can still be as athletic as you want to, then just give the examples of the athletes who are like, I used to not be vegan and I was pretty good. Yeah. And now I am vegan and I'm still pretty good. That might be enough to go, all right. Yeah. Give it a go then. You know what I mean? You don't have to go, oh, now you got all these like looking at how much fat's in your blood and fucking boners. Yeah. Why would they talk about boners if it wasn't to try and make guys go convert? Do you know what I mean? Definitely.
It was agenda driven, and again, it's a bit of a paradox, because when you have something like that that's agenda driven, you create two sides. Yeah. Well, first of all, you're going to get more attention if you come out with a documentary that we've been sort of asking for there. Yeah. People aren't going to listen. If they'd have done that, we probably wouldn't be talking about it right now with such
coverage
vigor.
And stuff. Yeah.
I've had so many conversations in the gym about it. I've watched podcasts around it. I've watched read articles about it. None of that would have happened if it was just a straightforward documentary. So you kind of understand where they find the need to be so dramatic, and to be so polarized in their argument. But at the same time, by being so polarized in your argument, you create polarity. So now you have one team against another team, and that's what it sort of turns into. Yeah. It's not as straightforward as just putting out a documentary that does what we're asking for, because then you might not get the coverage and people aren't going to be as interested in it. It might be that this route is the best route, where they put something out like that, everyone starts having a debate about it, the conversation is being had, and then someone steps in who is able to be very neutral and to take all that attention and place it
Yeah.
on the right stuff. This guy Chris Kresser, who I was talking to you about before, says a lot of valid points. I'm not sure if maybe he's a little bit too polarized, but he talks about regenerative, what do they call it? Regenerative, holistically managed farming, which is where instead of saying getting rid of farming, and instead of knocking all the forest down to create new land, they basically rotate the livestock of the farm around different points of land to regenerate it. So if you've got a bit of land that's dead, you can put cows there, and cows will survive there, and they poo around everywhere, and it fertilizes the ground. And then they put chickens in there, and the chickens come and walk around it all, so it spreads it all around and stuff. I don't know, obviously, the science behind it, but you can use the farming to regenerate the land. And it seems to be either carbon neutral or what they call a carbon sink, which is where it actually reduces the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. Again, it seems like a great idea. We would obviously need looking into. But even the environmental argument about veganism is like, we don't know if they got rid of all the farms. We don't know if that would improve the environment. It seems logical that it would. But
well, because when I think about that, I often ask, would it really be beneficial? Because when you talk about the environmental side of becoming vegan, because a load of the Amazon's getting cut down to make way for like farms for cows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, you don't really know how much of that is fact or not. But say that is the case. Say, there's loads of farmland that's being used up for cows. That's the way it is. And if you then don't have the cows, then there's not as much methane being produced for the carbon dioxide, and you're not using up that much land, and that all sounds really good. But that thing we were talking about before of cutting out the middleman, if the cow isn't doing the job of eating tons of plant-based food so that we don't have to, if we then have to start eating a ton more plant-based food, you've got to grow just as much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if everyone is suddenly eating a load more plants, you've still got to grow all those plants.
Yeah.
Like what's the offset? Is it like a 1-for-1? Is it, you get rid of where the cows are living, and then you use less land for crops for us to directly eat, stuff like that.
I think and it's a question, and it obviously needs answering. You can't just change the world based on a logical reasoning. Logical reasoning would have us think, you get rid of all the cows, it's gonna create a better environment. You can't change the world based on just thinking that might happen.
Yeah, I reckon that'll work.
Yeah, I reckon that'll work. Let's
do it
turn
all.
everything on its head, see what happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't do that. And so other ideas need to be thought of. Those questions need to be somehow studied and answered. I think we're quite a long way off that. The regenerative farming thing sounds great, but then again, it's action in it, worldwide. Something's got to happen.
Yeah, you got to do something.
Got to do something.
But how quickly can you do it?
Yeah. So, and again, just not to hammer on it, but in Game Changers, they use numbers. They talk about, they give you the figures of what percentage of carbon dioxide is, or climate change or greenhouse gases is created from farming compared to transport and whatever, and it's just inaccurate. It's accurate, but it's misleading, because
that's all a lot of the stuff was.
Yeah, everything in there was it come from research, but it was said in such a way, or it was cherry picked in such a way, again with that agenda. They said it was, I can't remember the numbers. They said it was something like 14% of greenhouse gases come from transport, and slightly higher percentage comes from farming. But they look at it in two different ways. Like they're looking at the transport thing as single, I can't remember what you call it, but basically just exhaust gases from a car. Whereas when they look at the farming, they're using numbers for the life cycle. So transporting animals, the factories that create the meat and then the cows themselves as well. So it's like a whole. But with the car thing, they're not looking at that. They're not looking at the factories. They're not looking at the transport of the cars. They're not looking at the.
Not looking like the mining the materials, transporting the materials, refining it, building the car itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just the exhaust of the car.
Yeah. So it's completely misleading. Accurate, but they don't tell you that. They just say, "Here's this and here's that," and it's two different readings, and it's just again. It sounds like I'm just kicking off on veganism, but it's just like just stop doing that. Stop making people think. Don't give me a reason to say you're just lying. Yeah. Because it kind of
puts you on the other side of the fence when you're not.
I don't want to be on the other side of the fence.
You want people to eat more plants because it is healthy for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But by you doing that, I've got to say, oh no, you're wrong now. But I'm not saying vegan is wrong. I'm saying you're wrong for what you've just done. Yeah, like how you've tried to present it.
Yeah.
Like you say, you can be honest about it and be just as convincing.
Yeah.
The documentary and that, it looks really good and it's all flashy and it's all exciting. And like you could do that just with facts.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
Like with the same thing of, if you want to be an athlete and you want to be vegan, here's how you can do it. Here's like moving chart of this guy that went vegan and it looks really cool and now he's fine.
Yeah.
He's all right now. He's still doing well.
Here's the actual science. Here's what we know you have to do to get the same results. Watch this guy do it.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I know vegans that are super healthy, mad strong, ripped, fit. The people that understand it. I'm still able to have like an argument with them about it, but they have a much clearer understanding of what they need to do and what they need to eat. And they take a lot of time to go to the market every week and buy a massive mixture of different veggies and stuff for what they know they need, and it's a big sacrifice. And I think a part of the revolution should be just teaching people how to cope with that sacrifice that they're going to make. Because otherwise it'll go one of two ways for them. They'll not stick to it, or they'll become unhealthy because they don't know how to do it properly.
Yeah.
There's stories of people that have become really unhealthy and even died. There was some kid in America died because the parents were making him be vegans.
Yeah.
Not veganism's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
But they just didn't understand what to do.
Yeah. Well, what we're saying is malnourishment is going to kill you. And that's kind of the tricky part of it and the dangerously misleading part, because obviously eating loads of veg gives you loads of nutrients. That's why we're always saying eat more fruit and veg, because it's really good for you. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff in meat and animal products that is also really good for you.
Yeah.
And it's having both sides so that you've got everything. Because unfortunately, like we said before, with the protein itself, there's some things that aren't as prevalent in plant foods that isn't as easy for your body to take in, and so as a result you're not going to have it. But the thing is, because you've got so much other nutrition, your body can kind of deal with it at the start, and you will feel better and you'll feel fresher and you'll feel really good again, partly because you've also cut out a load of junk as a byproduct, because there's not much junk vegan food apart from Oreos. You can live on Oreos if you want to and still be vegan, but you probably won't. But like I was saying, you'll probably be a lot healthier and you'll feel a lot healthier, but there tends to be a couple of little things. We always talk about like vitamin B12 and things like that, and there's those little tiny things that don't show right away because your body's really good at keeping you alive. You've got backups, you've got ways to kind of work around it, but that only lasts for so long. Because like you were saying before with that guy who talked about the regenerative farming, he was also saying that he was vegan, and then later these malnutrition in particular nutrients, the symptoms of that starts to show.
Yeah.
And like you said, if that happens to you, you're probably not going to think, oh, why am I getting so sick? Why am I so lethargic? Why is my skin not as, good as it was last week? And you're not going to think to yourself, maybe it's because I turned vegan 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's going to be, what's wrong with me now?
Yeah.
What have I done in the past couple of months?
There's not really anything where if you got sick or you had some kind of ailment or symptom that you would go, what have I done in the last few years? You would always go, is there anything this month that I've been doing, or what did I do yesterday?
Yeah, what did I eat yesterday that I feel sick today?
Yeah. But it's slow, I think, as well. So if you are getting B12 deficient, it's not going to hit you like a cold.
Yeah.
It's going to be like over a long period of time, you just start to feel less and less energy, or your recovery slows down over time, and even so much to the point where you could even just be thinking, just getting old.
Yeah.
And you're never gonna go, I've turned vegan 3 years ago and now it's started to really I'm starting to see the effects of it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions to be answered, and I think a different tact on the part of the vegan society is due.
Yeah.
Really.
And it's like, it's not even that you have to be vegan to be healthy, because like we've said, most of the time you feel better just because you've cut out all the crap. You can do that anyway and still be omnivorous, still have loads of plants, but enough of that animal product to get everything.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things when you talk about being plant-based, people often think that means vegan. It's just another word for it.
Yeah.
But it's not. Because at least the way I think about it, and that's why it's confusing in itself, because the terminology is not quite there. Like plant-based, to me and to a lot of people, means you've got a lot of plants.
Yeah.
Or mostly
like
plants.
Like really your foundation for your
like
diet.
It's based on plants, but there's still other stuff.
Yeah.
There's obviously not a specific number. It's not like 80% of your diet is plants or 85. It's just most of it is plants. But then there's some other stuff. If it was plant only, that to me would then be vegan.
Yeah.
What we call vegan, because there's no animal products whatsoever in your diet. And if you just think of that, I'm going to be plant-based, that's cool. You're still going to be well healthy.
Yeah.
You're still going to eat loads of plants. You're still not going to eat that much junk.
Because I think the argument of, and this is where I switch off if I am having a discussion with vegetarians or vegans, the argument that meat is bad for you is, in my opinion, just wrong.
Yeah.
That's just wrong. But you've come up with that argument and again cherry-picked the data, because it's, if you can convince people that meat is bad, you don't have to convince them of anything else.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, okay, well, they're jumping over to the vegan side. So when I'm having a discussion with someone about this, I'll maybe try a little bit, but I won't try for very long. Like if they're adamant about it, I'll just, switch off or terminate the conversation. Because in my opinion, it's not bad for you, and there really isn't any evidence to say that it is. So, I think people will benefit from having less meat, because it would force them to get more veg to compensate. Ultimately, I think that would be for the good of most people. I'm not sure about the whole carnivore diet that you was talking about before.
Yeah.
And it's that polarization. I think
it's just the opposite of vegan.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's loads of goodness in plants. There's loads of goodness in meat, but there's not the same goodnesses. If you like.
Yeah.
So again, like I was saying before we started recording about this guy that I came across because, and if anyone's listening and doesn't know what a carnivore diet is, it is literally just no veg.
It's meat. Yeah.
Just meat. And that's it. Only animal products. And so
I don't know if it is even... Do they have dairy? I don't know if they... Do you know Jordan Peterson?
I think so. I'm not sure, actually.
Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
He's doing the carnivore diet currently, and I'm sure he said literally just meat, nothing else, steaks or chicken.
Well, I guess if you're gonna be carnivore by definition, as in, say, imagine you're a lion.
Yeah.
A lion's gonna get what it can catch and eat it as it is. It's not gonna get what it can catch and milk it. So maybe it wouldn't have dairy in a carnivore diet.
Yeah.
But basically, if it's carnivore diet, you're only eating meat, and that straight away should say to you, well, that doesn't sound healthy because there's no veg. Yeah. Like I say, we all know for a fact that veg is healthy, and like to say that it's not, you just got something wrong with you. You know what I mean? You need to sit down and have a word with yourself.
Well, I mean, but the thing is as well, for that, for the argument that they're making, they've got their own anecdote examples.
Yeah.
So like in Game Changers, they've got people there that are going, I turned to vegan and my performance increased and now I'm a lot better. They've got people doing the carnivore diet that say, I'm very healthy, very strong.
Yeah.
You know, my bloods are good. I'm performing better than I've ever performed. And again, it has as much. It's like religious arguments.
Yeah.
You know, where you go, this guy's here saying 100% knows for a fact that God is real, and this person here is saying 100% knows for a fact that God is real. Someone's got to be wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're that certain, that much certainty, like I consider myself quite a scientific person, and in science, that much assurity about anything guarantees you're wrong.
Yeah.
About something, because there is no 100% in anything. And I think if you look at the human body, it's, you know, vegans make the argument that we don't have fangs and claws, and carnivore enthusiasts make the argument that we can't assimilate certain things from plants. And it's like, no, you're right. You're both right.
You're both right.
You're both right.
That's what the middle people are for.
Yeah. That's why we are suited to do both. That's omnivore. Like, you can see, if you look at, like, you've got dogs, I've got dogs. If you look at a dog's teeth, the back teeth are mental.
Yeah.
Like, where we have the mole, like the flat bits for crushing up stuff, they don't have it. Their teeth at the back don't clamp together. They go past each other like scissors. Yeah. It's like scary, man. Like, I've got 2 huskies, for those that don't know, and it's scary to look at the teeth and just think if they just caught you, they'd take your finger off, like that. Then if you look at a cow or a horse, all their teeth are like that, the whole way around. And then if you look at ours, we've got a bit of both. We've got but we've got still some like bit of a fang. You can see where we used to have fangs, and we've got the incisors on the front that can, you know, slice up meat, or they can pick stuff off branches. And then we've got the molars in the back. But if you feel your teeth at the back, they're both sharp and dull at the same time. Like, the outsides of them have a point, like blades, but overall they can crush stuff up. So I think we're a perfect example of something that can just be very flexible, and when it's only got meat to eat, it can survive on meat. When it's only got veg to eat, it can survive on veg, and when it's got both, it'll be at its best and do what it can with both. Yeah. It's
funny you say the thing about the teeth, because in another podcast I was listening to about this, that's one thing they brought up, and they were saying, like you said, vegans will often say, oh no, we're not supposed to eat meat because we've not got teeth like carnivores. And like you say, rightly, we haven't got teeth like full herbivores either. But what they were saying in this is it's because of that middleman, because of that middle ground again, because we don't need to rip flesh and like slice it up for ourselves. Because we got knives. You know, we can cook. And cooking softens stuff up and makes it easier for us to eat. You know, that's why our teeth, compared to most other things, are quite soft, because we make the food soft for us to eat. and like we're adaptable really quickly.
Yeah, super adaptable.
Like, because we've done that over thousands of years. Like I say, we don't need to slice it in our mouths because we've got tools.
Yeah.
And our bodies kind of adapt to that. And even, people often say once they go vegetarian or vegan, if they then go back to trying to eat meat again, it's really hard and the jaw hurts because they're not used to biting that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But they were fine before because it was used to it. Like I say, even just in that short space of a year or two, you'll adapt to the plant diet.
Definitely.
But then you can adapt back. And it's the same, like we've got all these middlemen that do our jobs for us, and they do that because we're really clever.
Yeah.
Because we're so clever, we invented farming so that we could have the middleman of the cow to do so much chomping.
The argument of, like if someone was to say, which I've heard before, you can only eat meat because you can cook it. Like you wouldn't be able to eat meat if you didn't have fire to cook it, and therefore it's not natural to eat meat. And it's like, well, no, we found fire quite a while ago. Like we've been doing it for a while. We've evolved to do that.
Yeah.
And there's like some kind of correlation between the time period that we invented fire.
Yeah.
And our brains grew
to
whatever percentage. It was like a third.
Yeah.
It grew by like a third in size. Because when we invented fire, we basically won the game. That was it.
Yeah.
Like it was game over because we were able to take something that, let's say, all the other predators are eating and make it twice as digestible. Mm-hmm. And twice as effective for us,
and it's energetic.
Everything. And
it's a source of energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So so in that time and like you say, we've got utensils, and when we started cooking meat, we stopped having to slice it up like a lion does.
Yeah.
Because it'll just crumble in your mouth when it's cooked.
Yeah.
So that's why we've changed. We've evolved in that way.
It's like the same reason we don't have a tail anymore. We're not swinging off trees, so we don't need a tail.
Exactly.
You could say then, oh well, because you don't have a tail, you shouldn't climb a tree. I'm gonna climb a tree if I want to climb a tree.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you're just not gonna be as good at it.
Same argument. It's like it's like saying, oh well, we don't have brick skin, so you should live in a house because that's not natural. You should live outside.
Yeah.
Like no, because we invented houses. Yeah. So because it's better for us. Like all these things we've invented, so then our bodies adapt to it.
Yeah.
Like we're weak as shit. We've got shoes. You take your dog for a walk. It's got big padded hard things on the bottom of its feet, so we can just walk on the ground.
Yeah.
If you did that outside because you have nice soft feet because of your shoes and your socks, your feet would be fucked.
Yeah, be wrecked. Yeah.
It's like it's all the same thing.
But obviously we used to be able to just kick about with no shoes on, and we were fine. We've just adapted to the comforts that we've created for ourselves. I think the idea of something not being natural is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because, it's like you see monkeys using sticks to get insects out of holes in the tree. Is that not natural?
Yeah.
Like they invented how to do that. Mm-hmm. They say they invented it.
They worked it out as well.
They worked it out. And
you see, like the same thing, like they use rocks to open things.
Yeah.
So exactly, should they not eat the thing that was inside it because they had to use a rock?
It's just the same, but we've done it better. We've just accelerated the process. So the idea of something not being natural is very ambiguous anyway. But we evolve to our own comforts, just like a dog does. We've got dogs and they're domesticated.
Yeah.
And my dogs are about as close to wild as you can get a domesticated dog.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And if I let them in the actual wild, they'll be fucked. Mm. They just obviously won't survive.
Yeah.
I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. When, it's sort of a little detour, but when the huskies were bred to be what they were semi-domesticated. Right. So half of the year, the people would be nomadic, so they'd move around, and the dogs would pull the sleds. For the other half of the year that they settled, they didn't keep the dogs. They just let them go. Right. And they would obviously stay within a vicinity, but then when it came time to move on again, they'd get them back. But the dogs, they were like bit of both. Whereas if you let your dog out in the woods or whatever, you took them to a natural part of the world and let them go, they'd be like, when's he gonna come back and feed me?
Yeah.
And that, you know, because they're the same. You just adapt to the environment you're in. And we've been domesticating dogs for like, I don't know, let's say 15,000 years. But we've been domesticating ourselves for much longer.
Yeah.
These comforts that we've got, like fire and, you know, agriculture, we evolutionarily speaking, we've adapted to that. Our digestive system's adapted. And like you say, you can adapt to something in weeks, never mind thousands of years. And the argument, the person I was talking to the other day about he's a vegetarian, he said, anytime I eat meat, I just feel like crap. Yeah, because you don't eat meat.
Yeah.
Like, if I became a carnivore, went on the carnivore diet, and didn't have veg for a year, then ate veg, I'd just be like, it would be not very nice.
Yeah.
Trips to the toilet. Like, and I don't know what I'd feel like, but I would, if I was just isolating that day, I would say veg is not good for me, because this is what happens when I eat veg. But after a few weeks, obviously, I'd adapt to eating veg and I'd be fine. I'd be not bad.
Well, like what you say there, when we were talking about the carnivore diet before, I got up the sort of conversation I had with this guy on Instagram.
Yeah.
So basically, I somehow came across this guy on Instagram, and literally, I'll tell you how I did it. There's a guy called Lane Norton, people who don't know, and he's very good at his job. Like, nutritionist, coach, everything, and he does a lot on Twitter, and something's come out which is a qualification to be able to call yourself a carnivore coach, which is just mad. And like the thing he said about it was like, what the fuck does that even mean? Is it like, oh bro, you want to be carnivore? Just eat more meat, bro. Don't eat any veg, bro. And it's just like, it sounds like the stupidest thing in the world.
How much more is it to?
But I'm literally on this picture. I don't know if you can see it on the thing as well. I'll zoom in if you can't. This guy's picture literally says "fuck lettuce" on a hoodie, and you're like, what are you talking about? So basically, I said to this guy, right, just because I wanted to understand it. I've never actually spoken to a carnivore diet person before, and I said to him, right, so you eat zero veg? And he said, for the most part, yeah. When I'm extremely strict, zero vegetables. So straight away he said, no, I'm not carnivore.
Fuck lettuce on his hoodie.
But he still eats veg when he's not being super strict. Yeah. So,
which is like, that's like me completely faux paring, putting fuck carbs on my hoodie, because for 12 weeks out of the year that I do want to cut down, I go keto.
Yeah.
Like, just because it suits me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fucking, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and again, like, this is something that in the Ben Coomber podcast they were talking about. Oh no, it wasn't. It was another podcast. I'll find out which one it was. I'll put the link in the description. It was a really good one. They were talking about different diets and like keto and low carb and this and that and what are the long-term effects. And they were saying as well about the carnivore diet, you know, how strict are these people who say they're on it? Because, you know, like it could well be the case that having that little bit of veg every so often is enough to top up those nutrients we were saying earlier you might end up missing out on if you're fully vegan, for example, in the opposite way. So straight away he said, only when he's extremely strict does he have zero vegetables. And I'm like, okay. He says, if I'm looking to do some bulking, I might throw in a sweet potato or a cup of rice, but vegetables aren't in my daily lifestyle. So again, he's having plants. That's not carnivore. You've just told me you're having sweet potato and rice.
Yeah.
They're from plants.
Yeah.
It's not meat, is it?
No.
And then I was like, right, okay. Just playing along. I said, what's the proposed benefit of that? And this is where he said what you said before. I feel better and perform better without carbs. My sleep is improved as well. Inflammation in my body is drastically decreased. Overall, I just feel better. I said, right. So where you say you only eat animal products, does that mean you got no processed foods like chocolate and donuts and stuff like that? He said, yeah, I avoid that. Once you start crushing meat-only meals, your cravings for that type of food subsides. Another reason I enjoy carnivore is I used to be a candy-holic and now I never touch the stuff. So again, he avoids junk.
Yeah.
So like we said on the opposite side, with when you turn vegan, as a byproduct you cut out loads of junk, and it's more so that makes you feel better. same on this side as well. And he said when you start having meat only meals, your cravings for those things subsides. Again, that's the opposite of what you've done.
Yeah.
It's not having that stuff as much anymore makes you not want to have the stuff as much anymore.
Yeah, there is like
you know what I mean?
Like your digestive system is like an ecosystem of little microbiomes. I don't think there's supposed to be an S on there. Microbiome, I think, is probably the plural.
Still different kinds of bacteria,
like bacteria and enzymes and stuff. They're there. They're like living off you.
Yeah.
And so the stuff you put in your body, they feed off it.
Yeah.
And that helps to assimilate into your body.
And that helps it break down so you can use it.
So if you're say, how do we analogize this? So again, let's put it into like business perspective. If we're in a business and you take care of a certain element of that business, sales, and I can take care of a different element, import of goods. If your side of the business is just constantly like, people are coming in.
Right.
So you're constantly at the door expecting the next person to come. You're on fire, you've got loads of energy, you're taking this, doing that.
I'll probably hire more staff to help me out. So there'll be more of me to do that job.
Exactly, yeah. So you're going to, perfect. You got more people there to do it, more people to take care of it. My department's not getting much happening. I don't know why it wouldn't if we're getting loads of sales, but you know what I mean? So let's just say
you're another business.
Yeah, another salesman.
In the same town.
Same business.
The town
you're
is
a salesman for one thing, I'm a salesman for another thing.
Okay.
So you're getting loads of sales for your phones, right? But no one's buying microwaves.
Okay.
And I'm supposed to be selling microwaves. So I've got a little sales team. We're not making any sales. I'm going to start cutting people out.
Yeah.
Start laying people off because, it's not worth it. Whereas you're going to start hiring more people. You get a bigger team to sell more phones. You get more phones coming in. If suddenly microwaves go, everyone starts wanting to buy microwaves, the business is going to crash. Like there's going to be issues because we've got one single microwave salesman who hates his life because he's not making any commission for the last 5 years, and we've got bloody no microwaves in the distribution center because we're not expecting sales. It's the exact same thing. Your body does the same thing. It reacts to what you're giving it. Mm-hmm. Employs more enzymes and more microbiome to deal with the most prevalent source of nutrition, and it down regulates the parts that are responsible for the shit that you're not getting.
Yeah.
So you start throwing that stuff back in the system, it's just going to pass straight through.
Yeah.
Small amounts of it are going to get assimilated, but over time it'll adapt. Over time I'll start employing more people to help me with the microwave side of the business. So your body literally reacts in the exact same way. Where we're able to do that, I don't think that a lion could do that. Mm-hmm. People are trying to make their cats and dogs vegans. It's a thing.
I hate that so much.
It's a thing.
I'm just while we're on it, I think that's animal cruelty.
That's animal cruelty, outright.
They're literally not supposed to be, but whatever.
My girlfriend saw something online the other day where it's like they were selling some kind of vegan dog treats. And I was like, what's it called? And I was ready to go. And it turned out they do vegan dog treats, but it's not exclusively vegan food on the website. Right. So they're not like... But that is animal cruelty because a dog, let's say a lion, let's go right back to nature. A lion is made to eat a very specific food, source, which is just meat, essentially. It's got no backup. It's got no that system that we've got where we can switch from one to the other. It'll just not be able to do anything if you start feeding it plants. We won't be able to assimilate it. It won't get the nutrition it needs. It'll starve and die. Where we've adapted to do that, and that's the physical sort of process that happens, is upregulation, downregulation of certain enzymes. We're amazing, man. It's unbelievable what we can do. But we're just, these arguments about being a vegan and being a carnivore is, to me, is like offensive. It's like you're putting us in this box of like, this is what we're supposed to do, when really we are where we are, ruining and destroying the world because we're just so effective.
Because we can use everything.
We can use everything.
So we do.
We can live anywhere.
Yeah.
Even before we became so interdependent on each other. If you put me in the wild, I'm fucked. Like, we're not that great anymore. But we become so interdependent that we don't have to be great in the wild because we don't live in the wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, we sort of box ourselves for some reason into these little boxes for the sake of an argument. Yeah.
That's like the post I put on the other day on like Facebook and everything, which loads of people, like quite a lot of people reacted to and were like, oh yeah, like that's a really good point. Like, I'm glad I read this, which is basically saying that I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said, you know, you don't have to be vegan, you don't have to be keto, you don't have to be low carb, you don't have to be anything. You're not joining a cult.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to eat stuff that's good for you, and you know, eat food you like. You know, just make sure it's not too much.
Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to lose weight, just don't eat too much. It doesn't really matter what it is. Again, it's when it comes to weight loss side of it, it's like we were saying before with athletes. It's the same thing. If you want to be vegan, if you want to eat an only plant diet, then cool, do that. And you will lose weight as long as you're not eating too much plants.
Yeah.
You can still eat too many.
Yeah.
It's just a bit harder.
Yeah, it's the argument. I really don't want to shit on my yoga teacher because I love him, but me and two other PTs were in a yoga class last night, and the yoga instructor was basically saying, if you've come to this class to lose weight, you know, he used an analogy. It was really funny, and I can't remember what it was. But he basically said, you know, you can lose weight doing anything. Like, you've come to do something very specific and very difficult to lose weight, which you could do just walking on a treadmill or lifting weights or going to a class. But then he got kind of on a little tangent about like, if you could lose weight just doing this, and he just started swinging his arms. But it's like, but he wasn't saying it's possible to lose weight by doing that. He was saying you will lose weight if you do that. Right. And he started talking about breathing. He was like, if you start breathing more, you will lose weight. It's like me having looked over at Johnny and then through the mirror, and we just kind of like. But then I caught one of the yogis looking at me laughing about it. I was like, but you know, the way that he said what he said is not incorrect. It is just incorrect because of the wording that he used.
Yeah.
The wording was, if you do this, this will happen. And it's too broad. And I think a lot of arguments around weight loss and around health are just way too broad. And they're broad because people won't listen to something that's complicated and specific. Yeah. Generally speaking. They want to hear how simple it is, how easy it is, or how exciting it sounds. So people say things like, you know, if you eat less carbs, you will lose weight. If you go vegan, you will lose weight. If you eat meat only, you will lose weight. You will be fit. You will be stronger. All these things. When really, losing weight, as we know, just comes down to one very simple thing. Calories in, calories out. And it's been there from the start. Like, it's been there forever. And it's so easy, but that is what is not sexy about it. Yeah. Is that it's so simple. Your body uses a certain amount of energy to get through the day. The more things you do, the more of that energy it uses. Simple. When you eat food, again, just speaking to the people that just don't know, maybe, calories are just a measure of energy. Like watts in a light bulb. It's just a measure of the amount of energy that is in that food as potential for your body. It's like a meter is a measure of distance. Yeah. Calorie is a measure of energy. Exactly. So you can think of like a chicken breast as like a battery, and there's a certain amount of energy stored in that battery, and that will get your, it'll run your torch for a certain amount of time. So it's just how much potential energy is in there. So when you're eating food, you're eating a certain amount of calories. When you're going about your day, you're spending a certain amount of calories. And if they're the same, then your body weight will stay the same. If you eat less calories than what you're spending, then you will be in a deficit. And the deficit has to come from somewhere, because you are doing that spending, like a bank account. Mm-hmm. So your weight will reduce. Where that comes from is where it gets complicated, but you don't have to worry about that. Don't think about it. It's just calories in, calories out. If you eat more calories than you're spending, again, like a bank account, the overall account balance is going to go up. And
because the excess energy gets stored.
It's got to go somewhere.
In case you need it for later.
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere.
The deficit you said before, if you do need it later, that's where it comes from. And that's where the weight loss comes from. Because the energy's going somewhere now.
Exactly. It's a savings account. So if you're making more money than you spend every month, the excess amount of money that you've made at the end of the month that's left over, you put it in your savings. And there's a reason that you do that, because if the next month...
a rainy day?
It's a rainy day idea. And as your body's doing that exact same thing. So it takes the excess calories, it stores it as fat, and then, and because, again, going back to the evolutionary thing, we're not supposed to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, this and that.
As they're around the corner.
Uber Eats on your phone, fridge. Just think about that. Like, everyone's got one of those in the kitchen. Evolutionarily speaking, obviously we've adapted to that. But, we didn't evolve for it to be that way. So these systems that you've got for storing energy in your body is because you might have a great week of hunting and gathering, and you've got more than you can do with. You've got eating more food than you can spend. So your body is very clever. It won't just go, oh, we'll just leave it there. It'll go, well, fucking get it in, because next week nothing's guaranteed. You haven't got the fridge, you haven't got the Asda, you haven't got a salary to go and spend. It could just dry out, and so you've got to have a way of storing energy so that you can rely on it later on. And it's just made it sound complicated, but it's that simple. And when it comes to weight loss, regardless of whether you're doing carnivore diet, keto, vegan, whatever, Weight Watchers, it doesn't matter, as long as calories in is lower than calories out, then you'll lose weight. Where it kind of gets complicated, not complicated, but where the sort of science really comes into it, is how do you make that as efficient as possible? So if we're dealing with clients, we're not literally just going to say to people, eat whatever you want, don't really care what it is, just make sure your calories are less than whatever, because you've got a psychological element as well, and we're not just trying to we don't have perfect subjects is the problem. And if you're a person who's not got a trainer and you're just doing this on your own, you're not a perfect subject. So you can't just go, well, calories in, calories out, let's do it. You've got to think, what do I eat that puts me in a calorie deficit that's sustainable, that makes me feel good on a daily basis, so that I'll do it consistently for long enough to make that difference. And this is where things like, I think keto and intermittent fasting and stuff like that is effective, because it gives people little sort of targets, or it puts what they're doing into a box of this is allowed and this is not allowed. And I genuinely don't think the physiological difference that those specific diets have on the body makes enough of a difference for you to know.
Like we say, we're the religious people of those diets, like we said before. For intermittent fasting and keto especially, those people will often talk about the hormonal benefits, like the physiological changes, and it's those things, like it's your insulin and all that, that's making the effect happen, that's making you lose weight. But again, we know, because we do science, like that's a thing people do, and we know from doing that if you do keto, or you do a regular, say, Western split diet, which is about 40-30-30 of protein to carbs to fats, no matter what the macronutrients are, if there's no carbs in it, it doesn't matter. As long as the calories are the same, you'll get the same effect.
Yeah.
Within a very small difference.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's just the calories that matter.
Yeah.
If the keto thing, like you say, psychologically helps you,
then it's better for you to do it.
Do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it turns out that the keto thing psychologically doesn't help you because you like carbs, don't do that. You know, just do the thing that psychologically helps you. You know, a lot of people, because we differ on that point, because you really like to focus on calorie counting with people, MyFitnessPal and stuff.
Yeah.
And so the people you work with, they're the people who that makes sense for psychologically. That's the one for them.
Yeah.
And that's cool. They'll do that. Whereas me, I use the traffic light system I like to use. Mm-hmm. And then the people I work with, that system makes sense for them.
Yeah.
But we're both doing the same thing and creating a deficit.
Exactly.
It's just how it makes sense in your head that matters. Yeah. So just find the one that does.
That's it. And I think you've got to, at the end of the day, trainers will be different, but for me personally, if someone says this calorie counting lark is just not working for me, I won't go, well, that's what I do, so you can't work with me if you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'll go, all right, well, I still believe, like, I just find that the easiest way to do it is by counting calories. I don't think that you're a bad person if you don't count calories, or that it can't work if you don't. Yeah. I just find it easiest, so that's what I say to do. If you can't do that, then let's try and find a way where you'll get the same result from not doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it might be going to something like a traffic light system or a portion system or what, you know, whatever it is.
Like it might even be doing something like Slim and Well or Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
It's just like where those things tend to fall down is they don't focus on exercise. And that's where, going back to the equation, it's really important to focus on both sides. Because if you're only focusing on what's coming in, and so you're trying to create the deficit by putting that down and down and down, you're going to end up feeling like shit because you're not eating any calories, you're not eating any energy. Whereas it's really important to remember that there's another side, which is your exercise. 100%. And you can create the deficit by putting that up.
I think as well, more than that, because I think people overrate the effect of exercise on weight loss. Like, it adds like a couple of 100 calories on your outgoing. And people think that if they don't train at all, they haven't got a chance of weight loss. Like if you've got someone who's like massively overweight, can't train, that doesn't mean they can't lose weight.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be easy for them to lose weight if they're that heavy, or they're currently eating that much food. But outside of what it actually does physiologically for weight loss, I think it's underestimated the psychological effect of exercise and the psychological benefit that, again, we're talking about consistency. So if you follow a certain diet and throughout that diet you feel not optimal because you're not exercising, you will link what you're doing food-wise to how you feel. Which is not the case. What you're eating might be perfect, but you're not exercising, and I do believe that, you know, we are, again, everything for me comes back to our evolution and what we kind of naturally have evolved to benefit from, and everything that creates your psychology is based around what is beneficial for survival. Mm-hmm. There's a really good book called, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's something about happiness. And they look at the 4 main neurotransmitters. And for those that don't know, neurotransmitters are just like chemical
messengers
that occur in your brain because of certain stimulus. So they talk about dopamine, serotonin, trying to think of the ones, endorphins,
oxytocin maybe?
Oxytocin, is the other one. So oxytocin is love, serotonin is like contentment, but there's a lot more to it, but just, you know, bracket in it in a broad way. Contentment. Endorphins come from physical exercise or exhaustion more specifically. And what's the other one? Dopamine is a reward system. And all of them on a very baseline level, are created by something that benefits our survival.
Yeah.
So think of yourself as a hunter-gatherer. If you create bonds with people, you're more likely to survive because we are
We'll look after each other
in numbers. We can hunt in numbers. We can defend each other better in numbers. As a species, we don't do well individually. So oxytocin is the chemical of love, and it just comes from physical contact, interactions with people, hugging, eye contact, hand holding, feeling like part of a group. That all comes from, that's all oxytocin, and again, you can see how all those things benefit our survival as hunter-gatherers. Serotonin is described as the hierarchical neurotransmitter, so it everything that sparks it comes from contentment within a group. So getting more respect from the people around you increases your serotonin. Decreases in serotonin cause like depression. So again, works to your advantage. If you're sort of higher up or respected in a group, you get first pick of where you're going to sleep, what you're going to eat. That's beneficial to your survival. Endorphins is the exercise one. That's where this sort of came from. When you're exhausted, people will recognize this mostly from running because we're fucking crazy good runners. And again, survivally, that's what we've evolved to do really well.
Not personally, but
not me.
Yeah, not personally,
as a species.
But people.
So efficient with running, but like more so than anything on the planet.
That's why we do marathons for fun.
Because when you are exhausted and you want to stop, you create something in your brain called, I think it's dimorphin, something like that. It's like the opposite of endorphins. So it makes you want to stop. That's why you want to stop. That's the thing that you're creating. The more of it you create, the more endorphins your brain creates to counter it.
Right.
Again, you can see how that benefits survival, because if you are running after something, we used to hunt things down by just basically chasing them till they get exhausted to death. And then we'd capitalize on it. So if we're running after something and we start to get exhausted, we want to stop. If we've got something in our brain that fires up, that for some reason just drives you through that and keeps you moving, you'll get the animal at the end. So when we go on a run, if we're very comfortable with what we're doing in the run, you're not likely to get that endorphin boost. It's when you get to physical exhaustion, when you really push yourself. And that's why, people who don't run, like me, I don't run long distance at all. But if I didn't know this, I would look at long distance runners and just think, why?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, you talk about the runner's high, don't you?
The runner's high, yeah. And you can get it obviously from anything. But people who push themselves to the absolute limit, people who don't do that, look at it and just think, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And again, without knowing this sort of background of it, even if you try and think about it from survival, you think it doesn't make sense to almost kill yourself running. Like push yourself to that kind of extreme doesn't make any sense, but it does. Like that's what that's where we get our biggest highs from that, and that's why.
Is it? Obviously, the endorphins make you feel good, and that's what kind of makes you want to go back to exercise again. Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it again because you'd have the dimorphin. Sounds like Power Rangers, that. But anyway, the dimorphin Power Rangers. Is it that the dimorphin, if that's the right word, let's just say it is. Yeah. Does that sort of go away quicker than the endorphins, and that's why you get the high afterwards?
Well, most of your neurotransmitters have something called reuptake. So it's like hormones and neurotransmitters are different things, like physically. Some of them act as both, but generally speaking, hormones is like sending a letter, right? So it takes a long time to get there, and once you've sent it, there's not really any taking it back. It's gone. We're like, if you send an email on Gmail, it's very quick, it's instant, but you've got an undo button. You can take it back, right? Kind of think of it like that. So they're both messengers. One's very slow, but once it's done, you're just going to have to live with the fact that it's out there. Whereas an email on Gmail is very quick, blah, 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 done, send, but you can take it back at any time. Not anytime, it's instantly. So your neurotransmitters are like that. Boom, instant. If I pull a knife out of my pocket right now, there's neurotransmitters, adrenaline, noradrenaline, norepinephrine are just going to be like boom. You won't feel the difference, but it'll just go boom. Feel like you're set off by it. Whereas hormones like say cortisol is slower. It's like you sort of imagine it like a liquid sort of seeping from the glands through the body, and it's not slow obviously, but it's not instant, and you can't reuptake it. So when something does stress you out chronically, you can't do something that just eliminates it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But you can have a high that just goes straight from you because something else happens, or you can have like the opposite. You could have like a negative kind of like effect on your brain that then something good happens and it just switches.
Like you can be having a shit day and you walk home and your dog's like, oh my god, I love you, and then you're suddenly like, wait.
Boom, yeah. So we do have that reuptake, and it's caused by certain things. The main thing with depression, when you get depression, like I said, it's kind of a deficit, I guess, of serotonin. And what they'll give you is serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So they inhibit the taking back of serotonin.
Right.
Because that's what makes you feel depressed, when you're on like a high and then you go like that. So yeah, I'm not sure if when you've got like the dimorphins kicking in, I think the endorphins sort of replace it maybe. I'm not sure if they replace it or neutralize the actual the thing themselves. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, they're kind of like plugs. They plug into the synapse and they can just be unplugged like that. It's quite interesting. Yeah. So
maybe we should look up how the runner's high actually works for next time.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I think it was Rhonda Patrick I got the information on the dimorphin endorphins. She's like a nutritionist.
Right.
Crazy clever, amazing. She's a big proponent of time-restricted eating and saunas. She loves saunas.
Yeah. She meets with Tim Ferriss. He loves a sauna.
Yeah, I think she will have done
Probably
a podcast with him.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. She's quite a big deal. She's very well known. Very clever.
Yeah.
So ultimately everything we do comes down to those four, and obviously there are other neurotransmitters.
Oh, yeah, well, I was thinking about it while you were saying it, because I think you've talked about it before, about why CrossFit is so big, and why it's so good really in that way, because it ticks all those boxes. Because like you said, if you've got what's the first one I mentioned? Oxytocin. So again, if you don't know what CrossFit is, it's basically a way of working out.
Yeah,
you've got certain
like
gyms.
All in one, innit?
Yeah, you've got certain gyms called a CrossFit box. You go and work out there. That's the basics of it. But the way they've like built the culture of it, in terms of the culture, everybody does the same workouts at the same time and like helps push each other through it. And then at the end of it, everyone's like high-fiving and hugging and stuff.
Yeah,
so you've got the oxytocin, you've got that connection hormone.
Yeah.
Then you've got
and also you've got the serotonin, because you're seen as respected within a group, and you've got the group elements. That's two boxes with one.
Yeah, and then obviously they then go to like the competition elements, so then you've got more hierarchy through it and stuff. And then the endorphins, like you say, you work as a group to push through it because it's hard.
Yeah.
And people say like after they do a CrossFit workout, I was fucking shattered. And it was awful, but I felt so
amazing
good.
After.
So it's because you're ticking that box as well.
Yeah.
So like we've done 3 so far. Yeah, it's on there somewhere. Like we've ticked 3 so far, and then the last one, your reward system, your dopamine.
Yeah.
Again, like all those things kind of are rewards in themselves. But then if you've got, say, it's like the competition element, then you can literally win something.
Yeah.
You've got like a physical reward from it.
I think
so.
the big thing with CrossFit as well is like, you are competing against each other. But at the same time, throughout your training and throughout your competitions, you're competing against yourself just to do a little bit better.
Yeah.
So the reward, I feel like the reward system, the dopamine, is just constant.
Just
the thing is, if you play tennis, it wouldn't be the same. Like, you're not going to play a tennis game for the most part and get beat, but be like, well, it's the most serves I've ever won in one game. You don't get recognised for doing that.
Yeah.
But in CrossFit, they'll be like, well, I came fourth, but I did 150 on my clean and press, and I've never done that before.
Yeah.
You know, or I did this amount of reps on this, and I've never done that before.
Yeah. So like you say, it's just the progression of it. I guess it's the reward.
Yeah.
Because they do their things on, like, what's the main one is MEF or whatever it's called, like the first one you do. So they all got names, and the point is try and do it as quick as you can.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you get a quicker time, like, oh, buzzing, I got a quicker time. That's your reward in itself, isn't it? So yeah, that's CrossFit.
Yeah, it's CrossFit. There are downfalls. I'm not a massive proponent of CrossFit, regardless of that. I think that speaks to why it's so popular and how it's done so well so quickly, because it ticks all those boxes for us.
No, I can't.
There are some pitfalls. I think in the CrossFit workouts that I've done, the coaches have pushed me beyond my technical ability, which immediately is a red flag.
Injury.
Literally, like, so say I'm doing thrusters and I start getting fatigued, and I start with good form on thrusters, and obviously as a coach, when you're coaching people to do a thruster, there's certain things that you need to ensure just for mechanical stability, so they're not going to get injured. So it's not perfect, but you're just making sure that if those things aren't in place, we take the weight down, we bring it back, we make it stronger, and then we come back to it. Whereas in the CrossFit workouts that I've done, I will actually have been getting coached to not do those things because they're making it harder to get the reps in. Trying to just do it safely makes it harder, and they're saying, well, stop trying to do that, let's just get these reps. And again, huge red flag. And it's a few times I've experienced that, where people are saying,
it's one of them. It's probably like situational. If you get a good coach, they'll probably be more concerned with your technique and getting it done right, so that you can then do all the reps properly. Where, like you say, if you get just kind of like a bro coach who's like, oh, let's get all these reps, man, let's do it, let's just get through the workout, oh, fucking Murph, whatever, then, they're not gonna, they're gonna hurt someone. Like, I heard a while ago of, a few years ago now, I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was a shoulder surgeon, and he said he loves CrossFit because it gets him loads of business. Because so many people were just wrecking their shoulders trying to do like clean and presses and stuff that they're just not ready for. And it's like one of the ones that came out this year was just a shoulder accident waiting to happen, because I think there was presses, maybe like kettlebell presses, followed by handstand push-ups. Something like, it was walking lunges, holding it over your head, followed by handstand push-ups. The handstand push-ups are well hard. Because, you got to push your whole body up. That's a lot of weight. Doing that, upside down, it's just going to mess you up, especially after your shoulder's already tired. It's just like,
the mindset is like, well, we're doing lunges, right? And then we're about to do handstand press-ups. Let's pop this into the lunges so that the handstand press-ups are harder. It's like, how much pain can we put on ourselves? Which is admirable.
Which, like you said, again, like in terms of creating those endorphins, that's a great idea.
That's the idea.
But in terms of continuing to create endorphins by not being injured, it may not be so much.
Definitely, and I heard an argument, I don't know how true it is, because it was from Poliquin actually, who I'm like, that lactic acid reduces your coordination skills.
Right.
So the more lactic acid you've got in the body, the harder it is for your chemical messages to get from the brain to the muscles. So therefore your coordination and the stability
in a logical sense, like if your muscles are burning, you're going to be distracted by the pain in your body, so you're not going to be focusing on, is my knee in the right place?
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
So there's that I mean, that's the psychological element.
Yeah.
And then physiologically, if your ability even just to speak to the muscles that are supposed to stabilize your shoulder when you do a snatch are diminished, then you're more likely to injure yourself, it seems. So yeah, definite pitfalls. And you like say, it just has to be coached in the right way. There's a guy called Kelly Starrett. Do you know Kelly Starrett? He wrote Becoming a Supple Leopard.
Oh, right, yeah.
Brilliant book. When he's sort of teaching exercises, got like those videos on YouTube, he's teaching how to be more mechanically efficient. And the premise is, it's going to be harder at the start, but ultimately, instead of cheating around an exercise, you're using the mechanics of the body to improve the efficiency of the exercise.
Yeah.
So it goes the opposite way. If it's coached properly like that, then I don't see really any problem with it. I don't like CrossFit bashing. I think it's a good sport.
Yeah.
It just needs to be done properly, really.
Yeah, it's like anything else, innit? It's like just deadlifts alone. So many people say deadlifts are bad for you who don't know. Deadlifts are one of the best exercises you can do if you do them right. If you're doing them wrong, like say the whole of CrossFit we were just saying, that's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
If you're doing deadlifts wrong, you'll mess yourself up. If you're doing them right, you get really strong, and that's the end of it.
Effective, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's a little bit like that. I think when I'm thinking by myself, most of my little rants that I have in my head end in the same way, which is everything's got a benefit, everything's got a place. The worst thing I can hear someone say in the gym is, this is what's best for that.
Yeah.
You should do this. Like, for me, there is no right or wrong way of doing anything. There's no best way to do something, usually. It's a matter of, or even exercises, like, this is the best exercise for that. It's always, you've got to look at the whole environment, the whole program, and context. You've got to think, before you think the best, you've got to think why you're doing that. Like, what phase of a program are you in, or what is your goal for that specific thing at that time, which is often overlooked. Yeah. It makes you very unattractive when you're saying it depends, because like most questions you get asked, the answer starts with it depends.
Yeah,
and it's not sexy at all.
It's not what you want to hear.
People don't want to hear it. They either want to hear, no, this is the best, or they want to hear, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear, oof, depends really.
Yeah. It's like, again, like back to keto. People say to you, for example, should I do keto? They want to hear yes or no. They don't want to hear you say, well, it depends. It can be really effective for cutting down your calorie intake and helping you achieve a deficit, and therefore you lose weight. However, if you like carbs, probably not a good idea. They don't want to know that. They just want yes or no.
Yeah, definitely.
But like you said, time, even like from right back at the start, it's like the game changes. Is it a good documentary? Well, it depends. Like, it could have been really useful. Like, did they say some useful stuff? However, it was quite misleading in some areas, and so it's not like was the game changes good. Fucking no, it was awful.
No,
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, great.
It's just not.
Yeah, that's right. Most people they want to hear a one-word answer. They want a very affirmative answer, and people get listened to in the gym as well. I've been PTing for 5 years, and I've found that people can be initially get more respect and listened to more when they're just really loud and abrasive with their arguments. This is the best way to do it, don't do that, those kind of things. But over a longer period of time, so the two gyms that I've been in, the first one I was there for like 3.5 years. I've been in this new one now for over a year and a half. Over time, you slowly win that respect back, because arguments always are changing, and people realize that, probably subconsciously realize that it's not straightforward, and they don't, like you say, they don't want to hear it depends. They don't want you to say, well, you're going to have to make a decision. They want you to say, this is the decision, I'll give it to you. But over time, I think it shines through that, you know, the more level-headed you are about arguments, the more likely you are to be on the right track. Being polarized and unmovable just doesn't really work. It's a science-based industry, and being non-scientific doesn't really get you anywhere. Surprisingly.
Right, we've been going for over an hour, nearly an hour and a half. Jesus.
Halfway through.
Right, go get yourself a drink. We'll be back in 5 minutes, short interval, and then we'll crack back on. We're coming up to an hour and a half, so I reckon what we'll do, we'll start wrapping up. And so let's finish on a high, because we've done lots of highs and lows throughout this. Yeah. So I reckon we'll finish on a high. Seeing as we're talking about clients anyway at the minute, let's finish on each one of your favorite client moments or stories. It could be like something they've done or achieved, or just a funny story from a session. Let's just end on a big positive.
Okay, you go first.
Me go first. Okay, so one of the stories I always tell, and there's loads of stuff from our sessions as well, but it's my client Emma from the gym I used to work at. Basically, Emma came to me after having knee surgery, and the doctors had told her, the surgeons had told her, you're not going to be able to do this again. You're not going to be able to do that again. You're not going to squat, jog, run, all kinds of things. Just like basically, your knee's a bit shot now. You're just going to have to live with it. But Emma, being from the military, was just not taking that as an answer. She was like, no, that's not happening. And so the story really is about her mentality through it all. So she came to me and she said, right, I've been told this has happened. I don't want to believe that. I want to do as much as I can to repair my knee as much as I can, and basically show them that I can do better than that. And luckily our physios were kind of on board as well, and they were willing to go beyond the typical response after surgery and stuff. So basically what we did was we just got mad creative with exercises. So she couldn't do squats, she couldn't do lunges, she couldn't do a lot of things because her knee was still just recovering from that surgery a few weeks back. And it's kind of like you said before, with the CrossFit thing, like they were doing lunges, but then he just put their arm up as well. We did kind of the opposite. We were doing things like cable rows, but she was in a split squat stance. Yeah. So she was working the muscles in her leg because she was basically doing a wall sit, but a lunge while we were doing other exercises. So eventually that built up the strength in the knee, and eventually we started doing actual moving of the knee and lunges and stuff, and basically we did built it up. She got loads of movement back. Every time she saw the physios, she was way ahead of schedule of where they'd expect her to be. So much so that she was off the crutches before they wanted her to be, and she was absolutely fine doing that. And eventually she even managed to go to, she was working in hospitals, like selling medical supplies, whatever it was, and she saw her surgeon in the hospital where she got operated on. And he saw her just walking around, and she was like, oh, hey, you all right? And he was just looking at her really confused, like, didn't I operate on you 6 months ago, say? She said, yeah. And he was like, how are you walking around? How are you just strolling about? It's not a problem. Yeah. And she was like, oh, and that's not everything. Yeah, I'll hold this, hold my beer, but for a clipboard. Yeah. And then just drop down into a full depth, below parallel squat, and pop back up. And the doctor's just like, what? What is going on? And just how excited and how happy she was, telling me that story. Yeah. It's always a story I come back to. And like I said, the big part of it is it came from Emma's mentality of, I don't want to believe this thing I've been told. Yeah, I'm going to find a way past it. And just always coming in and doing the work that needed to be done, even though it was hard and it was sore sometimes. And then the other side of it was just, let's get creative. And it's something I talk to people about all the time online. They've got these barriers, they can't lose weight because of this, they've got this problem with the hormones, they can't exercise because of this, or they're menopausal now, and all these different things. And I'm just like, yeah, that's shit. Or that does make your job a bit harder, but what are you going to do about it? Yeah. How are you going to get around it? What are you going to do? And that's exactly what Emma did. She said, right, this is the situation. It's a bit shit, but what can we do? Like, how can you help me invent exercises? Because that's not my job. And that's so she decided she was going to find a way out of it. She found someone, me in that case, who could help her find a way out. And then she put the work in to get out and got amazing results. Awesome. And, like for anyone listening, just think, if you're feeling stuck, just think about how you can do that. Start asking yourself how you can get out. And if you can't think of a way to get out, start thinking about who might be able to think of a way out and ask them, and then do what they want you to do and get out. Like, whatever the situation is. And that reason is why that's always one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, that's a cool story, man. Mine's kind of the opposite, I guess. I'll go the other way. When
stay in your hole.
Basically, if they tell you can't do it, just give up. Go home, start eating donuts. Now, here's a success story, but it's the opposite in the sense that when this person came to me, she had zero belief in herself. And it's interesting because I've always thought if you're training with me, you're always going to be better off than if you're training on your own. 99% of the time that is the case. I can watch you exercise, I can make it better, I can make it more efficient, push you a little bit harder, make sure you're always improving, getting that progressive overload, whatever it is, give you the support. But there's the odd case where being with a personal trainer, not because of what they're doing, but just the circumstance of being stood next to someone who you see as kind of the pinnacle of health or the education around that subject is just too daunting. And so she was called Leah. She is called Leah. Still with us.
Change the name after this.
She did one package with me, PTing. Zero confidence. Didn't think she was going to achieve anything. I put the usual procedures in place. We got started. Didn't go well. She didn't really show up for her sessions. I felt like, she just wasn't committed to it, what have you. And after the one package, she didn't come back initially. And I just put it down as she wasn't committed. It happens all the time. Whatever. And then I started doing like a free 1 week glute building thing online. She signed up for it. And a part of that course was a competition where the person who interacts most with the Facebook group wins an online training course for free. And so Leah got involved and she was all over it. And during the week course, the free thing online, I actually realized that she was just crazy self-conscious. Like so self-conscious, she doing the things that I'd put in this free course, she was petrified of. Somehow she just made herself do it. She chose quiet times to go to the gym. She went in the studio when she could go in the studio to get a bit of, isolation to do what she needed to do. She did it. And a part of it was making videos as well and posting that. And she was, again, just terrified, but she just kept doing it. And I was like really surprised by the fact that I didn't notice that the first time round. Yeah. Because I kind of got, I guess, stuck into the usual, what you usually expect, which is you're usually battling with someone's commitment. And some people are self-conscious, but you're just careful about it and you just introduce them slowly. And I missed the fact that she was just far more self-conscious than anyone I'd trained before. It wasn't really about commitment. So anyway, she won this competition. She interacted loads more than anyone in the group. And so she got the 12-week training course at the end of it. And again, I sort of thought, well, you've won. I'm going to give it to you because you did amazing in the thing. But how are you going to action this 12 weeks online training? It took a lot of convincing to get her to do before pictures, because again, just really self-conscious about that. But she eventually did it, and I thought, it's going to be really tough for you, and I'm there, but I'm not sure. And she absolutely smashed the hell out of it, man. She got amazing results. She messaged me now every couple of weeks just going, I can't thank you enough, it was amazing. I see her in the gym constantly. She's in there like twice a day sometimes because she's just loving it. So just an absolute turnaround. The best thing about it is that I was wrong, basically. And it was a massive eye-opener for me that I've just started looking for the same things, because you get used to it. You look for the same things, you see the same things usually as a trainer. And it was a big eye-opener for me to be a bit more open, like I used to be when I first started, about who I'm talking to. Because like you said earlier, you do get into a thing of, you put out a certain type of content, so you attract a certain type of person. So you start getting used to the types of people that you're training. If I haven't trained someone to step on stage for a while, like I've done it before, but it's been a long time, I don't market myself to do that. So if someone came to me now who wanted that, I'd say no. I'd be like, there's people who can do that better than I can. But you know, if I was to take them on, everything about how I started that interaction and that training would have to change from the usual. You know, so we get into a kind of lane, and I do believe you should stay in your lane to an extent. Like if you're geared towards training a certain type of person, don't go trying to train Mr. Olympia. But at the same time, you can't, as a trainer, fall into a default position of everyone g's treated the same when they start, everyone gets the same questions, everyone gets the same type of training program, even if the exercises are different. You know, you do your light system, I do calories. It can't be like that for every single person, because everyone's just so different. And so this case with Leah was, like I say, a massive eye-opener, and just I'm super proud of her. She's done amazing where she is now from where she was. And I wasn't there to do it for her. The system I'd put in place was the online system, which I always thought of as, it's cheaper. If you're training me in person, it's more expensive. Online is cheaper because you're getting less for your money. You're getting less from me. But it kind of made me realize, actually, people are just more suited to that sometimes. Like going online, you know, not having to have someone stood next to you watching your every move can be beneficial. So yeah, that's probably my favourite, most recent case, because it humbles me a little bit as well. Because I always thought, you know, if you're training with me, if I'm there with you, it's going to be the best thing. For most people, I honestly do believe it is. But there's the odd person that's going to benefit from a bit of freedom, from a bit of isolation. The support is there, but you know, it ultimately came down to her just pushing herself, just getting there every day, and going against her own natural instinct, which was, you know, to hide away from it or not show up for sessions and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's my favourite, most recent one.
Nice, very good.
Really humble.
Just as you were starting yours then, and I'd gone on about like all this and how, like, the thing I loved about my story, and then you went, oh well, actually mine's kind of the opposite. In my head I thought, literally these two stories we're telling, are they about to be an it depends answer for how good things are? I was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, even in success stories, it depends. But
yeah, that's it. That's what we've got to realise, and that's, I think, ultimately a well-rounded, level-headed trainer at a foundational level. The reason that we don't advocate for, you know, keto, whatever, all the different Weight Watchers, and the reason we don't say that's the best one is because we know there's no best one.
Yeah.
the fundamentally wrong thing about any of those is that they are one single thing. Like if someone, like, we're advocating for variation. If something doesn't work, it's because it's not well suited to you or where you're at, and that's it.
That's it. We're just about finding what works.
What works, yeah.
Like you say, maybe it's calories, maybe it's traffic lights, maybe it's points, maybe it's fucking keto, whatever. Anything. It doesn't really matter. If it works for you, it's what works for you, innit?
It's a depends.
Yeah.
Even when if someone comes to us and says, "Oh, I've seen that you do this," and I've seen you do that, which one should I try? Or should I do 1 a week, or should I do 3 a week? Always, I'm still saying, it depends.
Yeah. Like, how many can you do?
Look, ultimately, it's like the diet thing. If you were a perfect example for a perfect diet. So if I said, look, this is physiologically, scientifically the perfect diet, and you can do anything and can stick to anything and have no issues with consistency no matter what it is that's put in front of you, then that's the perfect diet. Ultimately, if that's a 6 meal a day diet and you've only got time to eat 3 meals, that's no longer the perfect diet. And it's the same with training and training systems and programs, and if you're training for strength or what's the best thing to do, cardio or weights, depends. The perfect thing is what you can do consistently. Yeah.
Sweet. Right, let's wrap it up there.
Cool,
so what we'll do is probably maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe next week, whatever, we'll sit down again and we'll go through different topics. If you've got anything you want us to go through, to like break down, to rant about, whatever, or just want to learn more about because you're confused because everyone's telling you different things, just let us know. Well, let me know, and then I'll let Jim know, and then we can look into it. So drop us an email, info@shaunherr.co.uk, and then I'll get it and we'll go through it all. And then now it's just all the wrapping up usual bits. So, if you're watching this on Facebook, click the like button, drop a comment, share it with your mates, let everyone else find out about things. If you're watching on YouTube, again, press the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel on that side, wherever that button is. And if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you subscribe to it, whether that's on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever you listen on. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right, cool. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.